Hello and welcome to Surveyor Says, the podcast from the National Society of Professional Surveyors. Each week, we bring you fascinating guests that are involved in the profession of surveying. We cover a lot of ground, including Table A Talk with Gary Kent, Point of Order with the NSPS Joint Government Affairs Team, Future Focus, highlighting current and future leaders of the profession, and everything survey-related in between. Thanks for joining us here on the podcast, and hope you enjoyed listening to this episode of Surveyor Says. My guest today is Miss Linda Foster. She is the NSPS director from South Dakota. Linda, welcome to this little pepper the candidates interviews. And so, tell you what, just want you to give us a little bit of introduction about yourself, who you are, who you work for, and what's going on in your world right now.
Well, thank you for having me, Tim. It's a pleasure to be here. As Tim mentioned, my name is Linda Foster. I'm currently the Global Manager of Land Records and Cadastre for Esri. I have been in the surveying profession, though, for greater than 20 years. Greatly enjoyed my time in private consulting, doing all things survey related, and I'm very excited to be a part of NSPS and all of the changes that are coming and the things that are happening. I think it's a very exciting time to be in the surveying profession.
Well, I would agree. I would echo those sentiments. That's fantastic. I guess beyond just your professional side, what have you been involved with as far as association work? And I mean, it can be survey, it can be community, what have you. But what have you been involved with as far as association work? And why does that intrigue you? I mean, why are you getting involved?
Great question, Tim. I've been involved in a lot of associations over the years. I've always felt a great desire to serve, whether that's my community, kids' schools, the church, or my profession. I'm particularly I'm invested in all of these places, particularly in my profession, of course. But no, that's a great question. I think it all comes back to giving back to those that have given to me over the years as I've come up as a student myself in schools, as a churchgoer in my church, my community. And then, of course, in my profession, I have had many mentors and many of those who have guided and helped along the way. And I feel that it's my duty to continue these things and turn around and give a hand to those that are coming into the profession and those things.
All right. Well, I guess part of this the big overall lead-up question is, in being a candidate for an officer for NSPS, what's your primary focus for the organization, and how would you want to help lead the organization into its coming days?
Well, Tim, I think it's a culmination of many of the things that I have been involved with over the years through all of my organizational experience in different associations. And that is, two things stand out to me, and that is collaboration and workforce development. And these two, I think, tie very closely together. So looking at the first one, particularly collaboration, I think for NSPS and all of our sister professions, if you want to look at it that way, we are in very exciting times, but we also have a lot of challenges ahead for all of us. We have complex problems that we're solving. We have increasing needs in our environment and in our communities. And that also ties right directly into our workforce as well. The demand for work is ever increasing. The demand for talent is ever increasing. And I think that we have a critical role to play in reaching out to our, like I said, our sister organizations and professions, and also the education institutions and our young people that are following behind. I think we have a great duty, but also we're positioned very well to teach everyone about what we do and the importance of land surveying and how that protects our future and our resources and really the well-being of our professions. And I think traditionally there's been siloing just in the world in general. I think that's the way that things have tended to be, but technology and different changes, as things evolve, things change. And I think those silos are really starting to come down. And I think we have some wonderful opportunities to work together with other teams and other interested parties to really make some amazing things happen.
I would agree. I do have to ask, because you've worn a couple of hats over the last couple of years in your job, in your professional life, and really being able to carry over. Can you speak to how the serving profession really we need to be in lockstep with GIS and how the merging how the technologies have really become to a point where we're merging um, in some of the collaboration and some of the tasks that we're doing.
Absolutely. I've been one of the fortunate individuals throughout my career to, as you have alluded to, practice in both, literally in lockstep. I've had a unique career for those of you who know me, and I have worked uh, practicing actively with in both simultaneously. And so I think I've had some unique experiences and some unique opportunities to kind of see what that looks like. And I can tell you that I've never been more excited about the two, if you want to say merging together or coming together, maybe is a better way to put it, than I am right now. And land surveyors have a very definite role in our society and what we do and how we practice, as do GIS professionals, and we really complement each other. It's not so much a competition or that type of a concept. It's really how do we complement each other, and how do we come together and do what we each need to do better. How can we enhance the things that we need to do and the problems that we need to solve and the challenges we're faced with? Because I'll tell you what, right now, more than ever, we need to all come together, use all of our tools and expertise and our knowledge to sit down and at the table and figure out how we tackle these bigger, uh, more accelerating challenges. I like to think of them in the world that we're seeing today.
That's great. Well, and I guess kind of leading up into some final thoughts of jumping into this candidacy, jumping into the future of, and really like you just laid it out, not just surveying, but surveying GIS, the geospatial world. Um, what do you see as some of the challenges that we're going to be facing as an organization, as a profession, that we really need to make sure that we do our best to stay out in front of?
That's a great question, and I think it all comes back again to the two focus points that I mentioned earlier, and that's collaboration being number one and workforce development being number two. Now, we're not unique in surveying and at the NSPS to be concerned about workforce and workforce challenges. Everyone out there in the world is facing the same challenges, whether it's healthcare or engineering or surveying or teaching. I mean, everyone is feeling the burden right now. And so I think we all need to work together, bring our unique perspectives to figuring out how to solve this the best that we can. I've got a lot of experience over the years in working in professional societies. For instance, I've been involved at my state surveying society for over 10 years. I've served on many of the different committees. I've served in different capacities in leadership. I was president of my state society. And throughout the course of time, there's been a common trend emerge, and that is we know that we've got workforce concerns. We know that we have things that we need to continue addressing. And I think what we're seeing in our professional societies, whether it's in the GIS world, the surveying world, or others, is that's accelerating. We've been talking about some of these same concerns and these same trends for years. The couple of decades I've been practicing, these have been very steady conversations, but I'm feeling a heightened sense of urgency for sure. I've served for nearly 20 years in both capacities in surveying professional societies and GIS professional societies. Like I said, on numerous committees and numerous efforts, and there's always a common thread of you know staying viable and staying relevant and continuing collaboration and building the workforce, because we need to have folks coming in behind us. We're responsible for the next generation of professionals and folks to serve our profession and also serve society.
Absolutely. Well, you have laid out a good roadmap that we do have some challenges in front of us, but I would say based upon these answers, you're not afraid of another challenge.
Not at all. In fact, I love challenges. I think to a certain degree, to be a land surveyor, you have to enjoy challenges. Am I right?
Oh yes, and we've got them coming and going all the time. Absolutely. So, well, Linda, thank you for joining me. We'll have some dates going on that we'll post here shortly about, well, the election does come out to our members. We'll get an email out to all of the members on December 1st. Election runs through December 23rd. At that point in time, we'll know by the end of the year the results. But in the meantime, we'll also be scheduling a town hall with featuring all of the candidates for the various positions. So please take a look at that and consider if you have any more questions for Linda, Matt, and the other candidates that are going to be out there for president-elect, please consider it. So, Linda, thanks again for joining me, and we'll talk to you soon at the town hall.
Thank you, Tim. I appreciate you having me.
You're welcome. Thank you. Today we're visiting with Matt Morris. He's the candidate for vice president in the upcoming election for NSPS. So, Matt, welcome to the podcast. And I got to ask, you're from Montana. What's the current weather there? Because I heard it got really, really, really nasty out there.
Hey, Tim. Thank you. Yeah, greetings from Shoto, Montana. It's not bad. Today was a pretty nice day. The sun was shining. It's cooling down to about 11 degrees. The last couple of days have been below zero, so 11 degrees. Heck, it was up into 20 today. It felt like a heat wave.
Oh, jeez. Well, it's been warm so every place else in for the 1st of November. So I was kind of just shocked to kind of look at the national weather map and see that it's been a little chilly for you up there.
Well, it started snowing here last week and quit off and on, but really it snowed all the way through last night. We received here in town, somewhere in the neighborhood, not quite a foot, 10 inches or so.
Oh, jeez.
Over the course of the last few days.
Oh, I'm definitely not ready for that. So, well, I tell you what, I appreciate you joining us today, just so the listeners, our members, can get to know the candidates a little bit more. Tell us a little bit about your survey work, your survey life. I mean, where do you work? How did you get into surveying? And really, what's your career been to basically to date?
Well, that might be more of a story than we have time to talk about, but the highlights, right?
Yeah, the highlights, exactly.
I started off in an engineering curriculum, Montana State in Bozeman, about 96. In that time, the advisor that I had, my college advisor, was the survey professor. Inadvertently, I ended up with that gentleman, and I enjoyed visiting with him and the field labs. And honestly, it didn't take long for me to figure out I enjoyed being outside. And if I ended up going down the path of engineering and licensure, that likely I wouldn't be outside a whole heck of a lot.
Right.
So I picked up a few professional electives when we started getting into boundary principles and legal aspects. I was hooked. And I ended up going to work after graduating college in Bozeman. I went a little further south into Jackson, Wyoming, went to work for a company called Pearson Landworks at the time. I still do some consulting with individuals down in Jackson.
Okay.
Worked there long enough to obtain licensure. Just really enjoyed every bit of the profession, from going out and doing corner flaggings to land mapping. I mean, a great way to spend the day. If you're going to spend the day working, you might as well spend the day doing something you really enjoy.
Exactly. So what then that led to you putting up your own shingle and running a pretty good business there in Montana?
Yeah, ultimately, I fast forwarding from college graduation through Wyoming and then moving back into Montana, I opened up a firm in my hometown. I live in a town of about 1,200 people. There's not a lot of surveying happening here. We work all over Montana. It's a large state with a relatively low population. I got an office full of talented staff, and We do all sorts of boundary-related work here in Montana, as well as some in Idaho.
Okay. Well, I guess, for me, just looking back and knowing your story, because we're seeing a lot more young surveyors that are doing exactly what you did. You cut your teeth with a firm, you got licensed, you really got to a point where you felt like it was something you could do on your own, and you put up your own shingle, and it's been you've had your own business for a number of years now. So I guess there's really you've been a good model for some of the young surveyors to be able to try to follow, because that's what we're seeing a lot of the young surveyors doing now.
I look back in 2008, this is year number 15 for me.
Wow.
And I didn't move here to run a survey office. That wasn't my intent. But moved here. Here I am. We're dealing with the incline of the economy in 2008. There was not a survey presence in Teton County, Montana. Residents of the county had to go elsewhere to get a survey done. And they're talking about long waiting lists.
Sure. Sounds familiar now.
It really does it not?
Yeah, exactly.
I found that was a large enough reason for me to start a little shop, out of the back of my house. And as it progressed, I moved out of my house into a building, acquired staff, and it's not that I necessarily came here to hang up a shingle and become a surveyor. That wasn't the intent, but that's what happened. And I came up here as a surveyor looking to do some other stuff. In hindsight, I'm glad I did.
Well, good. Well, I'll tell you what, also then let's talk about your association work, because it runs parallel to your professional work, and you've been involved with the Montana Society for a number of years, as far back as I can remember. Tell us what got you into the association side of things and volunteerism, and really what drives you to be engaged at the local level, at the state level, and then how it led to your involvement as the NSPS director.
So when I started out, I interviewed with a handful of different firms. One was a gentleman who did some part-time instruction at the college. While I didn't go to work for him, one of the things that he mentioned resonated with me and has stuck with me for years, and that's, if you're going to be in a profession, you need to be active in your professional organization. And if I go to work for somebody, make sure that they're active in association. So when I moved back here, like say in 2008, I wasn't necessarily wanting to open up a firm, but I did. And when I decided I was going to survey here in Montana, first step is I found where there was a local chapter meeting. I introduced myself to the local surveyors. A couple of them I had known or knew. And, somehow showing up and being a young face, it was like, hey, would you like to be chapter president? I said, absolutely. I want to be involved in the survey association. And what that did is got me a trip to Medora, North Dakota, which is a long drive from Chota, Montana. So the first board meeting was a seminar in Medora. That was 2009. And then I chapter president for a number of years, organized a state conference in Great Falls, Montana, and was elected to serve as president of the Estate Association. 2013 and 14 is when I served.
Okay.
I've been rather active with the Montana Association, and continue to be active, serving on a handful of committees. Worked on a major rewrite of the state bylaws. I'm active with the legislative committee more than anything right now.
Good. We definitely need that input for things.
Montana this year, we have some bills we're already following, and hopefully a couple that we're going to pursue. Then in 2014, I was appointed as the governor / director. That was part of the bylaws rewrite. Is when the board of governors with NSPS was rolled into the board of directors, there were little odds and ends and cleanup with the bylaws, and like I said, it just kind of snowballed into a major rewrite.
Sure.
Took a couple of years to get that accomplished. Things take time.
Yes, they do.
And we continue to have a fair turnout at Marl's conferences. I've helped with a number of them. There's been a fair. I mean, I can go through a long list of items that I've done with the Montana Association.
Well, how's that driven you to be engaged with NSPS that much more as like you said, governor ended up becoming as we morphed everything into the board of directors, and your engagement at the national level as a director, and all the work that really goes into the correspondence, the communication, and the goals of NSPS. I mean, how's that kind of change? I mean, you're from working at the state level, then jumping up to a national level. Has that changed your outlook on surveying and really what it takes to be part of the volunteer organizations?
The state associations and the national associations have many things in common and many goals in common. And the best part of being part of the national organization is you can come together with fellow professionals from all over the United States and elsewhere and discuss the same issues that you face at the state level. And my involvement with Marls has allowed me to develop different skills with leadership and work with legislative committees that I've used to benefit my state membership at a national level. And the skills that I've learned being a director, I've taken back to the state, which has had a large benefit to the state society.
Well, very good. Very good. So I guess the big question here is, and this is the purpose of doing these podcasts and getting to know the candidates a little bit more. So as a candidate to be an officer within NSPS, what would be your primary focus for achieving that role as an officer for the organization, and maybe and really any kind of future goal setting for NSPS? What's your primary focus in wanting to do all of this?
My primary reason for wanting to be active is that it allows me an opportunity to give back to the profession that's allowed me to live the life that I have and allowed me success in life that I've had. My goals are to move the association, national association, forward in a fairly cohesive manner, allowing committees to work with an emphasis probably on workforce development. I see that as a threat to our profession is lack of workforce, and I'm not talking lack of worker bees, but a lack of people progressing into the professional ranks. And we have a great committee nationally, and I see some state committee efforts as well moving forward. Anything I can do to help bolster that.
Exactly. Yeah. You're right. The focus of the national organization really needs to continue with that workforce development. And you are right. A little shout out to that group, especially over the past year or so, has really stepped up on some things. And so, yeah, I would definitely applaud your efforts to want to help push them along that much further and be part of the solution. So no, absolutely, that's a great focus. Any final thoughts as a candidate for vice president? What anything that you'd like to share as far as what what you're hoping to bring to the table as an officer of the National Society.
I'd like to bring the table years of leadership in the profession, and again, an emphasis on the continued efforts of workforce development. Our economy may be cyclical. The reality is we need to increase our membership. I've been to a couple different state society meetings. I'm starting to develop more gray hair than not. I like to consider myself a younger man, but I'm closer to retirement than I am entrance of the profession.
Right.
And I'd like to share some of the skill set that I've acquired with it.
Exactly. Well, that's fantastic. Well, Matt, I appreciate you joining us today, and we're putting the ballots together now. The electronic ballots will be coming out on December 1st, and those will run until December 23rd. So it's not Illinois, so you can't vote early and vote often. But please make sure and check your emails for those ballots. And we'll have an opportunity to do a town hall in a couple of weeks right before the election takes place. Make sure and listen in on that. Make sure and check out Matt's bio and in our upcoming edition of of Surveyor Says, the NSPS bulletin. And Matt, well, good luck, and we appreciate you. We appreciate you throwing your hat in the ring, because I think obviously all the candidates have something to offer, and you're definitely no exception.
Thanks, Tim. You have a great rest of the day.
You too. Thanks. You've been listening to the Surveyor Says podcast, brought to you by the National Society of Professional Surveyors. If you have any questions about today's episode or any other topic, please email us at info@nsps.us.com, and we are here to help. Visit our website, nsps.us.com, to learn more about our association, the programs we administer and support, our sustaining members, and information about future episodes of Surveyor Says. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify, as well as our podcast host, Podbean. And remember, it's a great day to be a surveyor.